Senate Democrats are mounting a legal offensive against the Trump administration over the release of files tied to Jeffrey Epstein. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer announced he will file a resolution compelling the Senate to pursue legal action. Schumer said the Trump administration illegally refused to release the full Epstein files. He accused the Department of Justice of heavily redacting documents in violation of federal law. Schumer said Congress was clear in requiring full disclosure of unclassified Epstein records. He argued that releasing pages covered in black ink violates both transparency and the law. The move follows a DOJ release of several 100,000 documents and images last Friday. Democrats warned ahead of that release that legal action would follow non-compliance. They argue Attorney General Pam Bondi failed to meet the law's requirements. Deputy Attorney General Todd Blanche defended the phased release approach. Blanche said additional documents would be released after further review and claimed that the DOJ was prioritizing victim protection.
The Justice Department's document dump this afternoon does not comply with Thomas Massie and my Epstein Transparency Act. They released one document from a New York grand jury of 119 pages, totally blacked out. This despite a federal judge ordering them to release that document. And our law requires them to explain redactions. There's not a single explanation for why that entire document was redacted. We have not seen the draft indictment that implicates other rich and powerful men who were on Epstein's rape island, who either watched the abuse of young girls or participated in the abuse of young girls and the sex trafficking. The reality is Pam Bondi has obfuscated for months. She first said there were no more documents to be seen. Now she's admitting and releasing hundreds of thousands of documents, but it is an incomplete release with too many redactions. Thomas Massie and I are exploring all options. It can be the impeachment of people at justice, inherent contempt, or referring for prosecution those who are obstructing justice. We will work with the survivors to demand the full release of these files, to demand justice for the Epstein class and accountability.
I proudly rise today in a bipartisan effort to release the Epstein files, finally, after 5 administrations have covered it up. Earlier today, I attended the press conference where the survivors, they're not victims, the survivors of Jeffrey Epstein's sexual abuse and sex trafficking told their stories. And they told stories about how it started back in 1991, 1996, and they continued on through the decades. And they told stories about how they told someone and tried to get help. They told the FBI and they weren't listened to. And they told law enforcement and no one did anything. And these women don't just number a few. These women number around 1,000 women. And they are victims of something that's unthinkable. And this should have never, ever happened. This was the biggest fight I think I've seen in Washington, D.C. This is my 5th year here. And this was a fight that we should have never had to wage. It should have been the easiest thing for every single member of Congress. It should have been the easiest thing for the Speaker of the House. It should have been the easiest thing for the President of the United States to release all the information, every single file, on behalf of these American women. These American women aren't rich, powerful elites. They do not have someone paying for their airline tickets or paying for their trips or paying for their expenses every time they try to do something to get this information out. These are your average Americans. And you want to know what the Epstein files represent, the cover-up represents to average Americans? It represents the failures of the federal government and Congress to the American people. And that is what people rose up about in 2024. They wanted and demanded transparency from their government and for Americans finally to be put first. And today, with this vote, we are finally putting These victims and these survivors of Jeffrey Epstein and the cabal of rich, powerful elites that expands not just here in the United States of America, but to other countries as well, we're putting them last. And that is exactly what Americans want. You see, for far too long, Americans have been put last. And they're sick of it. They're sick and tired of it. And this is why they don't trust Congress. This is why they don't trust the government. And here's the problem. All of these women who have suffered in shame for years and years and years, women who were terrified, women who were intimidated, women who were threatened, just like Virginia Giuffre. And now she's dead. And these women should have never faced that, for this information to come out. And we, especially the 4 Republican members of the House of Representatives, we should have never faced intimidation and threats for us to get this vote to come to the floor. Never forget, there were 4. Thomas Massie, myself, Nancy Mace, and Lauren Boebert. We had to sign a discharge petition, and we had to fight through intimidation, and we had to endure it for months to push that discharge petition finally to 218 to get this vote to come out. This is what the American people are sick of, and rightfully so. Now, where does this go from here? The question will remain, will the Department of Justice release all the information? Will a judge in New York release the information? Will the CIA release the information? And will foreign governments release their information? Or will this continue after this vote today be a cover-up? A cover-up of the rich, powerful elites that bond together in sex and human trafficking abuse and all types of global business that enriches them but never serves Americans. The American people will know, and the victims, actually the survivors of Jeffrey Epstein, will know, because they know the list of names. And I remain dedicated to my promise to read those names here on the House floor if those women ever find them in a place that it needs to be done. I yield back to Mr.
Gentlelady
Massey.
from